Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Sean Slaughter, real estate agent and investor. And I remember a client that I had that when she first walked in the door, we were doing a buyer's meeting, and she wanted some information on purchasing her first home. And she was nervous because she said, man, I know I need like $20,000 or $30,000 to purchase a home. And so I smiled because I said, you don't need $20,000 or $30,000 to purchase a home, depending on the home that you buy. But for her, I knew she would not need $20,000 or $30,000 to purchase a home. So the question is, how much money do I need to have in the bank before I purchase a home? Now, the figures that I'm going to give you are real figures. These are actual figures that I tell my clients when it's time to purchase a home, here's where you want to be. All right, so first and foremost, typically I tell my clients there are going to be a few expenses when you ratify the contract. So what that means is that we are looking for houses, and once we find a house, we submit an offer, and if the seller decides to accept our offer, they'll sign the offer, and that means that we are now under contract. So first off, your earnest money deposit. Typically here in Virginia, the typical earnest money deposit is $500, although sometimes it can be $1,000, maybe $1,500, depends on how bad the person wants the house. That earnest money deposit must be deposited within 2 days of that agreement being signed by the seller. Secondly, you're going to do a home inspection. Now, your home inspection, I generally tell the buyers, the home inspection and the termite and moisture inspection all together are typically going to cost another $500. And by the way, that home and termite inspection is usually going to get done within the first 7 to 10 days after that contract is ratified. So $500 for your EMD, earnest money deposit, $500 for your home inspection within those first 10 days. Next, within those first 10 to 15 days, you're going to have an appraisal ordered. This will be ordered by your lender, and that is generally around $650. Again, it can be lower depending on the lender, but I'm going to say $650 as a worst case scenario. So where are we within the first 15 days? $1,650 is what you're going to need within the first 15 days of ratifying on a home. Now, these are the basic charges. There can be other things like surveys or, septic tank stuff, or, there could be other things, but these are the most common. These are the most common that I see probably 90% of the time. Now, let's talk about closing costs. How do you determine your closing costs? Your closing costs have 2 fees in them. First, they have your loan down payment. So depending on the loan that you choose, if you have a first-time homebuyer's loan, the VHDA loan here in Virginia, then your loan down payment is going to be 0. If you have an FHA loan, it's going to be 3.5% of the purchase price. VA loan, 0. Conventional loan, it can be anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 20, 25%. The other part of your closing costs are all the fees associated with closing that loan. And generally, this is about 4% of the purchase price. So, if you're a first-time home buyer, your loan down payment will be 0%. Your closing costs, 4% of a home that's $250,000, is $10,000. Now, generally in real estate, there's something called CCA, Closing Cost Assistance. During the pandemic, it was hard to get closing cost assistance because closing cost assistance is when you ask the seller to pay for some of your closing costs. And we can ask for that in a percentage, or we can ask for that in a number. During the pandemic, so many buyers were trying to buy one house, 10, 15 buyers trying to buy one house. The seller always chose the offer where the buyer basically said, I'm not asking for any closing cost assistance. I'll pay my own closing costs. But in a typical market, we can ask the seller to pay 3.5%, maybe even 4%. I've seen in some markets 5 or 6%. In the market that we're in right now, it's 2022, May, asking for about 3% is going to be typical, maybe 3.5% I've gotten away with over the last 2 years. And so what does that mean? If you have a first-time home buyer loan at 0% and you have your closing costs, which are 4% of the loan, $10,000, and we ask the seller to pay 3% of your closing costs, 3% of a $250,000 house is $7,500. So out of that $10,000 in potential closing costs, the seller would pay $7,500. All right. Now, every situation is different. Depends on your loan. It depends on the closing cost amount. It depends on what the seller is willing to pay as far as CCA. But hopefully that gives you a little insight into what you can expect to pay for a home. Now, don't let the closing costs scare you. Don't let it make you run away. I always tell my clients, look, let's fill out for a loan. Let's see where you are when it comes to the pre-approval. And then let's start searching for homes. And let's start searching for homes where if you say, Sean, I don't want to spend that much cash up front when it comes to closing costs, well, let's search for homes where we can get those closing costs. And there's different ways to fill out the agreement where I'm able to get my client CCA and other agents can't. I hope that helped you. On our last episode, we are going to talk about the truth about real estate agents. Talk to you next time.